Hey there, friend. Welcome to Create Conversations. This podcast is designed to connect you with entrepreneurs and creatives from across the country and sometimes around the world. When I was first starting my business, I really didn't have that sense of community to connect with, to bounce ideas off of, to really know that I'm going the right direction or was doing something right. That's why I created this podcast, to give you that community in hopes that it can inspire you and drive you forward through your entrepreneurial journey. So without further ado, let's create some conversations. Hey there, friends. Thank you so much for joining for this episode of the podcast. I'm here with my friend Ashley, and we are talking about what if you don't want to run your own business. I know as entrepreneurs, we all talk about how we want to run our own business, and there's a lot going into that, but what if you feel that you want that entrepreneurial lifestyle, but you don't want to run your own business? So, Ashley, thank you so much for joining.
Of course.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself and who you work for.
So, my name is Ashley. I go by ATAK, A-T-A-K, so people don't have to mess with my last name. I am a project manager currently, fancy term integrator, for Hayley. She formerly was profit planner. Right now we're kind of in the middle of sort of rebranding, but she has her scalability lounge, and we have a couple products that we do online. You can find her mostly under Hayley Burkhead. I have been her project manager officially for the last 10 months, since January. Though I first worked with her last year as a retreat coordinator.
Oh, wow.
So my whole entire journey as to how I found her is quite a story, and I could talk hours about the things we do and how I got there. But I would basically describe myself as her right hand. And so I have worked my way through, a couple different businesses to get to this point with her where I am. And as her right hand, I'm focused on the day-to-day of the business. She's constantly looking 3 years in the future as the visionary. And so we make sure back and forth between her and I that the company is running smoothly, but also still able to grow. So it's really fascinating. And I just want to throw in, I have a background with a degree in theater. It's not like I, grew up knowing entrepreneurs or anything like that. I stumbled into it, and with Hayley alone in the last 10 months, I've worked through everything from like podcast fulfillment for her, to co-creating her high ticket item that I could gush about for hours because I am officially the godmother to this product. And then crafting what maternity leave will look like for her company, because I'm going to be going on one here soon. So it's a lot of fun for me personally, where I still get to do a lot of business stuff, which I love. And I nerd out on like Airtable sheets and details and like stuff like that. And so she can kind of do her thing and I can do my thing.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I always loved your story and meeting you at Creative at Heart. I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, you're not everyone is like an entrepreneur, but you working for an entrepreneur still has that kind of like,
can still be just as fulfilling.
Right, exactly. So you did mention that you ran a business or was working with some businesses in order to get there. Did you ever run your own, and what was it, and how did that flow? I know you've told me this story.
Yeah. So, my wedding, I made everything down to my bouquet, like, all the invitations. I started crafting it all. And then it became baseball season, and my husband was a coach, and I had nothing to do with my hands. And so started the journey of, what can I do? And that's also when Rising Tide was coming out, Tuesdays Together, Community Over Competition. And so I was like, I need to do something, and I know I can do something. So I spent a good portion of that year, of course, I started with branding first before even knowing what I was going to do. And eventually settled on making handmade pendant and tassel necklaces. And, so I would have markets, I would sell these, And some of them are still on sale on Etsy. I have probably about 80 of them still. And it's been almost 2 years since I've stopped making these necklaces. So 6 months into selling and making these necklaces, while it was a lot of fun to custom make these for people, I very quickly determined like my ideal client, my favorite people to talk to and help were creative business owners. And a creative business owner can only be helped so much by buying a necklace. Mm-hmm. So for me, I kind of just got, it wasn't fun anymore, but I still kept doing it for a while. Part of my journey, I was a Tuesdays Together leader for the Houston chapter. We had 3 at the time because we had so many people. And during that time, I had a full-time job. I should throw that in there too. Yeah. And I was making necklaces on the side. And to avoid commuting home, I would schedule happy hour dates with creatives that, because I would see them have meetings during the day and I'd get so jealous. So there was a period of time where I was a Tuesdays Together leader. And as that leader, it gave me confidence to reach out to people that I didn't know and an excuse to meet them. Mm-hmm. I would say I used to be more of an introvert, and it definitely made me more of an extrovert through this process, because there was a period of time where I had over I think I had 70 creative happy hour dates and over the course of 5 or 6 months. Wow. And so it would just be me reaching out to someone and being like, hey, I want to get to know you. And the conversations would be so great. So of course that just helped me to soak up different aspects of business and create friends and kind of create my own community. So then helping business owners, I determined one day, my full-time job, which was at a law firm, I was like, I've been there 5 years, and I was like, I want freedom. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw in, during our time at Creative at Heart, Vanessa, Shanna Skidmore had a great talk about, what is your thing that you value the most? And mine is time. 100%.
Yeah.
So
mine was definitely time.
For 8 hours a day was I would get to the ends of the internet, and it was awful. So a floral designer in our area had a part-time job opening for an office manager, and I was like, yes. And so it was right before Harvey hit Houston, so just over 2 years ago, that I took that leap, went part-time with her. The law firm was like, well, you can't do both. So that was a shock. So then Harvey hit, and I was like, oh my God, I need money. Very blatant. I probably for that period of time told everybody, I need to make, I'm going to say my number, I need to make $2,666 each month. And I was telling everybody that. And I was like, who wants to hire me? So for a period of time, I worked with flowers. I worked in a commercial kitchen with a small business owner who delivered healthy meals. I was chopping up vegetables. Wow. I worked very briefly with a girl who has a successful business with hair clips. And so I was hand cutting hair clips because I enjoy doing stuff with my hands, watching TV. That's fun, right? Yeah. And then I also got into another big, awesome company in Houston that did balloons. And so, worked with all these different business owners. Some of them lasted longer than others, but it was always so interesting to me to see how different business owners wanted different things. Some wanted to be the face of the company. Some wanted to be in the back room designing. Some wanted to, it was also different. So anyway, my journey, I could go on. And so I ended up stumbling into meeting Hayley and working with Hayley, and it's evolved into this. But what I would say is I knew I had something in me, and I knew I wanted to help people, but I also knew to a certain extent, making the necklaces, it wasn't fulfilling. And so I get business ideas, and it got to a point, and I couldn't tell you why, but at some point I was like, you know what? I know I'm a good right hand. I know I can do this for someone else. Right. And I can assist them And I have to bring this back to Kendra Scott. If you know who she is, she started in Austin, and she's a jewelry designer. And her vice president of design, I believe, got the job winning an internship from college.
Wow.
And grew to be her vice president. Mm-hmm. And she's about my age, you know, young 30s, late 20s, something like that. And so I saw that years ago and thought, wow, you can still be a vice president and like still, you know, not that I am a vice president.
But right.
It's that concept of you can still be very impactful.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go on and on. I apologize if you're listening. This is a very passionate subject of mine, of course.
Which is why I brought you on. So I know you kind of touched on this, but just see if you had any more more points to this. What made you not want to run it anymore? You mentioned how you didn't feel like it was that fulfilling. You realized that your ideal client was different, and did you ever feel that it was like too much, that you were doing too much?
Oh, totally. Well, and for me it was in terms of, in the nicest way possible, doing a market and having someone come up and look at my necklaces and try them on. For me, it just that wasn't fulfilling versus having communication with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like right before my 30th birthday that I was like, all right, no more markets. I don't want to do this anymore. Because also, I mean, my business name, ATAC Crafts, like, I was like, I can do other things with that. I can craft other things, or I can, you know, like,
yeah,
I can make that work, right? Sure.
I can do all the things.
Of course, there's the back of my head obsession of, I got to keep my Instagram looking good. Or, oh, I have this business page on Facebook. And at some point, it was just like, you know what? I don't need to mess with that. Like, yeah, I don't need to. I think I got burnt out on pretty flat lay styled photos that I was using, and like, you know, so it was a journey. But I think the biggest factor in it was realizing in myself, I know I have this value. Yeah, I know I can be of value to someone. Rather than having to create it all myself. Right. And what I'll also say involved in that is I can come up with ideas, and I've had many business ideas. And from like something I called retreat in a box to being a headhunter for creatives to, teach people how to be their right hand to, if you're going on maternity leave, like how do you pre-set up all, because like I think people can do anything if they break it all down. Right. And so, but then when I would take an idea, like retreat in a box, I played around with that for maybe like 3 or 4 months. And of course went in branding first because that's what we do for fun. Right. And then was like, I don't even know where to start. Yeah. So for myself, when I come up with my own ideas, I have a very hard time figuring out where to start. Okay. And then compare that to my, lovely boss, Hayley, who's an Enneagram 3, who is, all these ideas and, I'll just make more money. And like, she is an amazing, like, she doesn't think of the details and she keeps trudging. She's like, I'll do this, no problem. We'll put it together. We'll be scrappy. We'll put it out there. And I love that. But so then I compliment her by being the girl who's like, okay, you're giving me the plan. Now I can break it into details. Yeah. I'm being told what to do to a certain extent. Yeah. And of course, I get to still develop it, but like, I don't have to come up with everything. Right. So kind of a question that kind of pairs off of that, because that's your strong suit. You know that you're a good right-hand person. So how did you find that? Like, was that just in the years of working with different people, or did you always know that you kind of had those qualities? Well, I'm an Enneagram 1, I believe. So very black and white, very like to follow rules to a certain extent. But it's also more kind of in hindsight. I would say Hayley is really the person, yes, I knew in myself that I could do big things. And Hayley was the person who was like, you're an integrator. Yeah. And I want you to be my project manager. And I was like, okay, sure. But looking back in my life, when I left that law firm, you better believe I had created a 5-page, if not longer, document on every single thing I did in that job, handed it to them to say, here's how they can do my job. Like, because to me that was helping them.
Yeah.
To me that was, if I'm not here and I'm leaving, I want someone to literally walk in and be able to do it so easily.
Right.
When I parted ways with the floral designer, did the same exact thing. Maybe a 3-page document.
Yeah.
When I parted ways with the balloon company, I had like a 5-page document again of like, here is how I did my job.
Yeah.
And I love putting that together. And so really it was like, once coming in and Hayley seeing that in me to a certain extent. But also I would say my background being in theater, when you're in theater, when you're in the arts, or if you're in sports, or you're in something in as a young kid or in high school, like you have to do what you have to do to get it done.
Yeah.
Theater was, that pillar needs to be moved in 30 seconds, you got to do it. And so it's just something I guess I always had in me that, okay, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And then it became addicting as it became fun. So Airtable, I don't know, and listeners, if you're not familiar with this, it's basically like Excel, but on steroids, and it's online, and it's the most amazing thing ever, in my opinion. Like, I nerd out over making like a spreadsheet for someone to use.
Wow.
And there was one point where I'm pretty sure I told my husband, I was like, if someone asked me to database every single person I had a happy hour with and who they were and what they did and like what they were good at or whatever, I would get that to you right now.
Yeah. I
would jump in and I would do that. Versus, of course, then other jobs, then they're like, okay, now like write a paragraph on this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So part of this journey, I will say, is, and what Hayley, God bless her, loves to do, is she and I talk a lot about how we are and what we like the most. So therefore we can make sure that like we're all doing stuff that's fun. For me, what's fun are those things. Right. Things that would make a good right hand. Now, what I will say, this is a right hand to Hayley. I have spoken to other business owners who are more type 1s, who are more structured, who want to do the details rather than be the face of the company, or be like the person saying, hey, and look over here. Yeah. And so for each company, I would say there's a yin to your yang that can help relieve stuff from you. And the benefit to that, from my point, if Hayley is, big tuna, and I get to be little tuna, then I don't have to worry about all the things big tuna has to worry about. Being, for the simplest, easy off the bat, taxes. Mind you, I do help her in like the HR department, so one day I will like manage the rest of the team, but I love that. I love managing people. Whereas we have someone on our team who loves being in the inbox. Yeah. She just loves, she doesn't want to be necessarily out in the Facebook group, and like she can build stuff, but it maybe, it's not fun to her to build a new project. Like, hey, figure out a new SEO plan. That's not fun to her, but she loves talking to customers in the inbox. So we are working towards, as a company, crafting how all she has to worry about is talking to people in the inbox, and she's going to do it really well. Yeah. So part of my journey was looking at what are the things I like to do? What are the things that light me up? How can I do just that? Yeah. And now, mind you, I don't, at the end of the day, I'm still behind the scenes, and our recurring profit, that's the name of her high ticket course, we have about, 50 members in there or so, and they know who I am and they love me. But a lot of the people in Hayley's other program don't know who I am, and that's okay with me. So the give and take of, I don't have to worry about taxes, but also I'm okay being a little bit behind the scenes with the occasional, co-starring role, my theater degree. But sorry.
No, that's okay. You're fine. So how did you find Hayley and get to where you are?
So I'm going to share this story. I'll make it quick.
Okay.
I attended a retreat in 2015. I was making necklaces. It was a retreat in Texas. It was pretty pricey, but the thought of going made me want to cry, like with happy tears.
Yeah.
So I went, and of course I brought necklaces and gifted one to everyone. I'm pretty sure almost none of them wear them ever, which is fine. That was also like my necklaces don't really help,
Yeah.
But I went, and there was, I guess I'll throw names out there. So I went to the E11 retreat hosted by Bonnie, and Christina Scalera had gone right before me. I know I've told some of them part of this story before, so they've heard this.
Yeah.
But she went to the session before me, and she had written this amazing article about how she went, and she felt so out of place when she first showed up. And I read the article and was like, oh my God, yes. It put me in her shoes. And so I contacted her via Instagram. I was a little, ballsy at the time.
Yeah.
So when you're on Instagram, you can do that, right? You can just DM someone, and what's the worst thing that they're not going to respond? Anyway. So Christina was very sweet. We chit-chatted. We talked. I was following her. I was a fan. And then a couple months later, her and Rain Pomeroy started the Creative Empire podcast. And they were looking for a street team. And I was like, yes. I didn't know Raina at the time, but I knew Christina. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yes, please. Let me help you. And so did that, joined the team, got to be on an episode as a mentoring episode. And so that's how I met Raina, kind of in person, or, digitally. And then some time went by, and Raina came to Houston and knew I was in Houston, and had messaged me on Instagram saying, hey, I'm coming to lunch. Do you know anyone who would want to meet? And I was like, yeah. So I kind of told some people, met her for lunch, and at lunch she was talking about launching a mastermind group. So she launches the mastermind group, and this is right when I left my law firm job. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to join. So I went through 2 rounds of the mastermind, through all these different business ideas, me working for all these different companies, not sure what I wanted to do. And at one point, one thing I wanted to do was help conference owners with their communities at the big time, because I had never been to Creative at Heart and wanted to go so badly, and thought, let me help Kat with her community. That would be because I was the rising tide leader. I think I wasn't anymore, but it was I love community. I love posting in Facebook groups and connecting people to each other. So that's what I would love to do. I'm going to offer that as a service.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't do that. So Raina knew that, though. So unbeknownst to me, Raina was in a mastermind with Hayley at the time. They were friends. And Hayley was like, hey, I'm looking for someone to hire to run this retreat that I'm doing for my membership site. And she was like, well, I know someone. So one morning, I literally wake up and I have a message from Raina saying, hey, do you want to help coordinate a retreat? I was like, of course I do. Is this even a question? Yes. So she asked, because of the connection all the way back to me going to the E11 retreat and meeting Christina Scalera digitally. And she was like, well, it's not for me, it's for a friend. And it was for Hayley.
Wow.
And so Hayley interviewed me, and we worked for a couple of months. She picked me up at that retreat and said, I want you to be my project manager. I'm going to make this happen. And I was like, sure, okay. I kind of work full time for another company right now, a small business. So I was like, but okay, sure. And so she was like, no, I'm going to manifest this. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, she did. So I actually worked for both her and the other company for a little while too. I've only really been with just her since the beginning of May.
Oh, wow.
But with that, it's still, I work from home, I guess is the way to also put it in there, because she's remote, and I haven't said that before this point. So many of the other companies I worked for were local. But then the balloon company I worked for, it was mostly from home, and then you'd go out and do deliveries. So with Hayley, it's remote as well. She was in Arkansas, now she's in Fort Worth, and I'm in Houston. So that allows me, I have my office space that I'm talking to you from today, and it's all online with her, which is a lot of fun. And then I really just lucked out with Hayley.
Yeah.
And she knows this, we talk about this all the time, that I really think that sometimes it can be harder. And if you are a CEO as well, it can be really hard to hire. I 100% believe that. I could talk about hiring. Hayley and I can talk about it for hours. But finding the right employer and employee relationship, because I am an employee, it is so hard. I feel like it was harder to find Hayley than it was to find my husband.
Interesting.
Because when you're finding a spouse, there's a lot of give and take there, that when you have an employer, you have to kind of tiptoe around a bit more to a certain extent. The communication is open, how maybe, you know, I wasn't my best in this circumstance, how maybe she and I will work together and she'll get frustrated or she'll get worked up about something, and it's just because, you know, she didn't realize this. Our communication is what allows me and her as like integrator and visionary to work so well. Which was a journey to get there in itself. But I'm still not running my own business. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I will, you know, as you wish, like, but she also looks to me to push back on ideas that might not be the right thing. Like if she's like, oh, okay, we need to rebrand this. I'm like, but do we? Yeah. And she values that in me. I know not every CEO is looking for that. I've experienced that myself. And in which case, the fit, again, of finding the right fit can be tricky, but once you find it, it can be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome though. So then with that, do you feel that, with being a right hand, do you feel that there's still like that stigma of, oh, maybe you should have your own business, or like that kind of like, maybe I should have continued what I was doing, or?
Yes and no. Only in the fact that I feel like people haven't spoken enough about it's okay not to be a business owner. But I will happily talk about that for hours. And if anyone wants to hear more, I'll happily talk about it. But that I created my own business that introduced me to an entrepreneurial side in myself that I didn't know I had. And when Rising Tide came out, and I love them to death for everything that they stand for, even still to this day, you know, a lot of people created businesses, and I've seen businesses not succeed, and that's okay. And to me, the stigma, I guess, around like having a business fail, people are going to feel it because, you know, they're going to be disappointed in themselves, but you still learned something. Right. You still have value. And in your business as a whole, maybe you weren't the best at making sure blog posts were like written and published on time, but you were really good at Instagram live stories. In which case, maybe you could be a writer for someone's Instagram live stories, or like, you know, there is something that you did really well in your business, which is why you went into business, that you can still offer and still potentially get paid for. You just may be an employee as opposed to a solo entrepreneur. Yeah. So, I mean, I constantly still have ideas, literally creative at heart. I wrote down, someone was talking, I don't remember who, and I wrote down like, I should train people how to be a right hand. And then I circled it and wrote ha, because I was like, it's a choice for me to say, no, I'm not going to pursue my own business. Right. And in that choice, to me, there is freedom, freedom from having the 5-year plan, or, you know, doing like, what am I going to do? What if I stop getting clients? I don't necessarily have to worry about that. Right. If, you know, people stopped buying my necklaces and that's all I had as a source of income, that could be a problem. Right. But being someone's right hand, that's also another set of eyes looking at things. So it's kind of just, I don't know, I get to build, and I take my own pride in that, and I can stand on my little soapbox and say, no, I still deserve to be here. And to a certain extent, I feel like from my journey of growing with different companies, I feel like all I've done is absorb knowledge and I'm going to be opinionated. My mother's an Enneagram 8, so I get that from her. And I just want to help. And yet the two in me, of course, I'm obsessed with Enneagram. Sorry. If you're not aware of what that is, you should look it up because it's pretty cool. Luckily, my boss is obsessed with it too. So we have everything, relates to that. But I get to grow and be a part of her brand. And that takes off the pressure. So, yeah, I could say in the creative community, there could be a stigma. Like, if I show up, what do I say?
Right.
But, and especially like if we have a girl on our team who's just fulfillment, like, hey, that lovely question of what do you do? But it's still kind of cool. Like, I'm, you kind of 32 and I'm working from home and getting ready to have a baby. I think my mom was just telling my aunt, like, I've worked towards this for the concept of time. Yeah. And for the concept of, like, what do I want my life to look like? And not running a business allows me to get closer to that. Right.
Because who knows where you would be if you're still at that law firm.
I know exactly where I'd be. I'd be at that desk. I'd be talking to you from the desk, so I didn't have to drive home. But, I'd be making a lot more money. But money versus time, to me, at the end of the day, and who's not to say one day I couldn't make the same money working with Hayley as we grow the company to be, this amazing thing where we help. She just recently came out with her, like, 3-year vision that involves, like, donating lots of money to charities and helping like 30,000 entrepreneurs. I'm like, who knows, along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, but
I don't have to come up with that plan.
Right, you kind of get the best of both.
Help with little pieces.
Right, you get the best of both worlds. You can still like give your input and help be a part of the brainstorming, but you don't have to be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna be like, should we?
But that's because I love the brainstorming.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and like you don't love the brainstorming part, like that's okay. Yeah. There's a spot, like right now we actually have a job position open for someone in Fort Worth. Well, right now I'm saying it's the end of October as we're recording this, so I don't know when this will go live. But like we're looking for someone to work in Fort Worth with Hayley to help with marketing. So, I enjoy building, but if you prefer marketing, like, hey, there could be a space for you at this table where Hayley's, and you don't have to worry about brainstorming that stuff too. Yeah. So, it's fun.
It is fun. So do you feel, I know we talked about how you have more time and you feel like you have more time. Do you feel like that's still like the entrepreneurial life in your current position?
There is flexibility. But mind you, the flexibility I have is from the role that I've put in. I strongly believe that there's sweat equity to be put in, like, and I can't tell you why I feel this way, but, you started a company and you're going to work your way up. You're not going to start at the top. Right. Like, especially being, I guess, graduated with a college degree in theater. I was going to move to LA and be a movie star. Yeah. And then instead worked for Abercrombie and Fitch. And then when I got sick of retail, I became the receptionist at a law firm who then became a legal assistant. So to me, like, there's a general, as you get older, as you learn, you move up. Now, when I left the law firm, I knew I was starting from scratch. Right. Totally different thing. So putting sweat equity in and seeing how that will return over time as I gain knowledge, as I prove my worth. So the flexibility that I have worked towards. And for me, in the position that I have, I am salary, but my salary is a little bit different in terms of like flexibility of hours and working from home. And, as long as I get my stuff done at the end of the week, end of the day for the most part, especially going to have a baby, like, we know come the beginning of next year, like, we don't know what it's going to look like, but the communication between her and I and the trust that we've built allows for me to be able to, do my own thing and kind of manage my own projects. And we'll touch base, we'll check in. But if I can't get to it today because who knows, I need a nap because I'm exhausted.
Right.
Then I can get to it tomorrow and I'm still confident in that. So it does give me like the time flexibility, but that's also how I've worked myself here. I have busted my butt to get here with other companies, with Hayley, like, you know, podcast episodes. Like, I've done the little details in her business. And so now that I'm slightly higher and it's constantly evolving, and I'm still that person who's willing to, if that pillar needs to be moved, I'm going to move it. If that podcast episode, if someone got sick and an episode had to get published, I would do it.
Yeah.
And so Hayley knows that about me, which is what gives me a little bit more entrepreneurial life.
Yeah. But it's not like you just woke up one day, you're like, I'm going to start a business, so I'm going to have like all free reign. Like, you worked for that. But even so, entrepreneurs work to get that entrepreneurial life, because you can't just be like, I'm going to quit my job and have 1 million clients and do all these things. Like, no.
I mean, if you want to be scrappy, Hayley did it.
Right.
And she'll happily tell you how she did it in her programs that I help with. Like, and I've seen it and it's amazing. I also know it's just not for me. It stresses me out a little bit too much.
Right.
But yeah, no, I've witnessed people take and build stuff in the matter of like 3 weeks and be a rock star.
Yeah.
And so if you think you have that in you, you can do it. But I also got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right. Right.
But I still love the process. So
yeah.
best of both worlds.
Yeah. So what?
I think that would be an alternate conversation to this title.
Right.
If you don't want to be a CEO, but you want the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Here you go. So what advice would you give anyone who doesn't want to run their own business but wants kind of where you are?
I mean, I sort of touched on these previously in terms of you need to be aware of what you're good at. And for me, it's finding, and what I have to say, full disclosure, is I found what I'm really good at by having bad job experiences. It was those things that bugged other entrepreneurs about me, to where I wasn't a good fit for their company, that when I came into Hayley's company, I was the perfect fit of what she needed.
Yeah.
Which goes back to, sometimes it's harder to find, you have to kiss a lot of frogs in order to find that spouse. Like, sometimes you do, but if you know what you are good at, I find holes. I will craft a process. I will push back a little bit and I'll get, you know, super emotional and passionate about things. But then I'm also super passionate when my recurring profit students are, you know, excelling and doing a fantastic job. So what you're good at, embrace that. Yeah. And then know that you're gonna need to kind of start at the bottom. If you're at that point, that turning point. Now you may, and I need to specify that I'm not talking to if you're looking to be hired as a contractor, because if you're looking to be hired as a contractor, you're clearly running your own business too. And Hayley's company has contractors that we utilize. We have a very sweet, lovely Facebook ads manager. We have our designer. We have these people that are contractors for us as well, but I am an employee. And so I do not have to worry about other businesses at the end of the day. I just worry about Hayley's. But there was a period of time where I was juggling multiple companies, but doing different roles. And so I worked my way to grow to here. You do have to prove your worth. And of course, if I say that, and not to be, in any sort of negative way, but like, everyone works differently and you vibe with people differently. And when you align with the company, then it can be amazing. And part of that then, of course, like I said, goes back to communication, where there was literally an example of a certain weekend where I had drafted all these emails. I was getting ready for a big launch. I had done all this stuff, and all Hayley needed to do was review it. But she was moving, and she knew she needed to review, but she was busy, and she wanted to spend the time with her family. And I was pulling my hair out, just like in my head, like, why can't you just read this? Like, you could read it on the toilet. Yeah. And then the weekend goes by. So Friday, I'm still left I'm left hanging, and I'm so like frustrated, but like, you know, boiling a little bit because I can also be in the area for whatever. And Monday comes, and I get a message from her saying, "Oh my God, I was dreading reviewing that. You just made that so easy for me." And in my head, I was like, oh, she was dreading it. She was putting it off because she was thinking it was going to require all this extra work on her part that she wasn't ready to do because our communication of expectations wasn't clear. What I was thinking and feeling and what she was thinking and feeling were two totally different things. So once she told me that on Monday, we ended up talking about it. And I was like, look, I was really frustrated because, and she was like, yeah, no, I thought I was going to have to put all this work into it. And so she and I, our term is to decode it. Because sometimes there's like, you'll have these preconceived notions that you don't even realize you have until you're frustrated or until something isn't happening. And there was maybe just one phrase that was missed where it was already in someone's head. And, you know, you don't know that they don't know that. And so she and I take a lot of time where we will stop and we will go back and we will say, okay, this made me feel this way, or I reacted this way because, and then she would say, okay, well, I was thinking this. And so then the next time that comes along, I can store in my head that she may be dreading that she needs to do more. And I need to just verbalize, I think all you need to do is read and sign off. Yeah. And so then it would avoid that situation altogether. So communication. Yeah. Knowing yourself, being able to communicate clearly, but then it also comes into sometimes a CEO may not be open to that line of communication, and that's okay. You just might, if you need that line of communication, because not everybody does. I've learned this too. I have learned that I sometimes put my feelings on other people. If they're sitting in the corner quiet, I'm worried, oh my God, do they feel left out? But they may be perfectly fine, chilling there, just watching. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, oh my God, let's make sure that we're including them on purpose, because like, I would be that person who needs that extra push. But no, they're fine, they're good, and I'm stressing out about nothing. Yep. So if I can acknowledge that, then I can be like, oh, hey, well, you know, I'm here if you need me. Yeah. And kind of leave it at that. So I know I go round and round. But if you're looking to step away from your own business because, or maybe, you know, you've had a business, or maybe you've never even had a business, but you know, like, I can really do something awesome. You just have to start. Yeah. Yeah. And kind of see, I mean, and a big thing to throw in there too, I worked for a floral designer. I worked in a commercial kitchen. I worked with a balloon company, and I never had the intention to start my own floral company. I never had the intention to start my own balloon company. So therefore, coming in that way, like such as if you were a calligrapher and it didn't, you know, maybe it's not working out, maybe you're not making enough money, maybe you still want to have your calligraphy business, but you need extra cash. Well, you have great calligraphy skills. Who might find that useful? You know, a floral designer could find that very useful. So maybe you like you're really good at calligraphy and you're really good at social media. And so you offer to this floral designer, hey, can I help you out with social media? And maybe do some calligraphy like for you as well, while I still run my own business as a way to make extra money. And that floral designer doesn't need to feel like you're going to try to create a floral business. They don't need to feel protective of, I'm going to teach them everything and then they're going to steal it all from me, which I know can, you know, I've seen that happen with photographers in terms of every single person I interview wants to run their own company. So there is a place where even if you want to still run your own business but want extra cash, to a certain extent, and you feel that you are capable, or it's a slow season, right? Why not? Yeah, you have something you can offer to someone. Yeah, like as a photographer, Vanessa, I'm sure that there are, you know, calligraphy people or floral designers or like, you know, basically anyone would love someone with some photography skills. Right. But besides photography, you're really good at, say, answering emails super promptly. So, hey, it can be a win-win here. Right. Yeah. Exactly. hence why I once had the idea of being a headhunter for creatives.
Yeah.
That didn't work. Someone should go after that because it would be useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
More complicated than I want to dive into. I stay in my lane.
Right. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error to kind of, don't be afraid of failure, because then you're going to find what you are good at, what you can help someone with. Yeah.
But I mean, and learn more about yourself to constantly improve. And then now, like, I can talk to my husband about business, and it's, it becomes a little bit of an obsession.
Yeah.
In a great way.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, I would not have imagined myself to be doing any of this.
Right.
Where was I even 10 years ago? Probably working for Abercrombie and Fitch, which I still wear, by the way, and I still love, but, listen to that music with that fragrance, and
you can tie a mean bow from when you worked at.
I can tie a mean bow. Yes, thank you. And scrunch sleeves.
Yes.
I mean, even then, working Abercrombie and Fitch retail 10 years ago, I still have things that I picked up and I can use.
There you
so
go.
Maybe it's a matter of sit in a corner, think about your last jobs, and what did you walk away with?
Right. Exactly.
There's something.
Yeah, there has to be. But yeah, just sitting in a corner, you're finding yourself, figuring out what your things that you've taken away from past jobs. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And I mean, thinking about that, like for myself, there's definitely things in like my previous jobs, like something I always harp on is communication and being in constant communication with people, like even, with where I am at right now, like communication is so key because I'm working remote, and if I don't know what my team knows, I have to constantly say or not constantly, but say things like, hey, I don't have context for this. Like, can you give me context? Like, I don't know.
And then you both lose time.
Right.
Productivity.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely good things to keep in mind for those out there that are thinking of that transition. So
yeah, because to me that tells me you could create this own perfect system as to here's how you need to make sure you're communicating in this example or this example or this example, and bam, you just created more productivity for the company.
So last question, what is the best thing to you about being an entrepreneur or working for one?
I mean, I love that working for this particular entrepreneur, I've worked towards having the time, having the respect, and which I also value. I value greatly the time, the respect, the ability to communicate and be seen, and heard as well. Those are things that were important to me that I only found when I wasn't feeling that way, that it would make me so frustrated. So working for one who does that is great.
Yeah.
But then also I love seeing the people that we impact. I love it. And especially because they're creative business owners, which goes back to the love that I found in my heart of, oh my God, I love, doing this, being able to give advice, being able to do the things that I enjoy and not doing a lot of things that I don't enjoy. I still do tasks that I don't want to do. Everyone will always do tasks that they don't want to do for a job. Even if you're the CEO, you're going to do tasks you don't want to do at some point.
Right.
And so, I don't know, there are moments when I'm doing stuff that I get to just feel like I am rocking at this. I am being a rock star. This is great. I created an Airtable for my little recurring profit community that I brag about every chance I get, where we host live Q&As every week. We record it. We put the content up. And after a certain while, I was like, well, we have all these questions where people are asking the same thing. And all I've been saying is just go back and watch them. So then they have to wade through them all. They have to open them all up and look to see. I was like, no, I should database that.
Yeah.
Because I love databasing. So this lovely Airtable is sorted by topic. So all mindset questions that have been asked for the last 6 months of Q&As, you can find them all on this tab, complete with a link to the video and what time to watch it at.
Dang.
So to me, like that like gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then like having people see it and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like makes me feel like that is, you know, I am queen right now.
Right.
And it was literally just, I probably spent 2 hours putting it together. And probably should have been doing something else at the time, but because that sounded so fun to me, I did that anyway, and it's been a great benefit to everyone. Right, yeah. So getting to lean into the things that I enjoy is, you know, you can't go wrong with that. Yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. And then of course I still make money to pay my bills. Right, exactly. Best of both worlds. And salary, or like even when I was with her and it was like, hey, I'm expected to work X number of hours a week, then I knew what the income was going to be as well. Right. So, yeah. I haven't even mentioned that to this point. Right. There's a little bit of security there. Yeah. Mind you, it's still a small business, but like, it's not all on me to make sure I'm paying myself. Right. Yeah. And that's a big thing about being an entrepreneur, is actually paying yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, it's fun, and we're making it all from scratch. And at one point, Hayley's husband worked with us. It was a short period of time, but I was like, look, you have to understand that when you look around and you see everything, you see all the members in her membership site, you see all the people in recurring profit, we built that from scratch. Mostly Hayley. And I helped on the side, but like, it was built from scratch. And when you realize that, because it's still a small company that's growing, that's like, again, you can't beat that either. Right. Yeah. It wasn't here yesterday and now it's here. Right. No, exactly. Like that stuff is so, and I still get to be a part of it, but I don't have to drive the ship. Yeah. I can take a nap when I need to. There you go. There you go. Well, thanks, Ashley, for being a part and coming on. Where can everyone find you? So I am only really on Instagram. My Instagram name is ATAKCrafts, ATAKCRAFTS. But of course, you can also find me through Hayley Burkhead. Her website is scalabilityfactor.com. If you're interested, you can find out more about what I mentioned with recurring profit there, because it's my favorite program of all time. I helped co-build. I'm godmother, so of course I get to brag just a little bit, where we're teaching people who want to scale their course or memberships to have consistent 10K months using an evergreen sales funnel. So, you know, if you're an entrepreneur who is the CEO and you're like, yeah, okay, I listened to this whole episode to be like, oh, okay, well, that might be for you. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. But it's been amazing to build. And so, of course, I'm going to brag because I helped build it. Right. But mainly I'm just on Instagram. No website. I'm pretty sure I still own a Squarespace domain, but, you know, took it down. Right. If you go to my Instagram, you can find the link to my necklaces that are still for sale on Etsy. Yeah. They're there. They're there. Yeah. But thank you for having me on, Vanessa. I'm glad we were roomies. Yes. Roomies and creative at heart. That's the best part. And hope to see you there again. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching today's podcast. And until next time, bye guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you leave a review because that really, really helps us grow the show. If you want to continue to support this podcast, head over to our Patreon from the link in the description or the link in the show notes, where you can sign up for one of 3 tiers where you get exclusive merch, a direct line to me to tell me who I should have on the show, as well as getting to hear and see the podcast days before it releases to the public. I'm so excited for all the other exciting things that I'm going to be sharing with my patrons, and I can't wait to see you there. This podcast is also sponsored by HoneyBook. HoneyBook is an amazing client management service that I've been using for years, and they are absolutely incredible. They are so incredible that they're giving you guys an exclusive deal
for 50% off your first year with them. That is a $200 savings, which is so crazy and so amazing. So you guys should head over to the link in the description or the link in the show notes to grab that amazing deal. This podcast is edited and produced by Earbrads. You can find them at Earbrads on Instagram or at earbrads.com. You can find me at Vanessa Jordan Photo on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and you can also find me on my YouTube channel, Vanessa Jordan Photography, if you are listening to the podcast version and not watching the YouTube version of this podcast. And you can also find me at vanessajordanphotograph.com. And until next time, I cannot wait to create some amazing conversations with you.